your hosts, JC Cornell and Samer Ali.
Your host, JC Cornell with Samer Ali. As always, Samer, what's new?
Hey, man, we got a lot to talk about. I'm excited, man.
We do. I'm excited to be back on. There's some nervous people out there in the Bucs world about Tristan Wirfs holding out from OTAs. I think you agree with me. There is nothing to be worried about. It's a smart thing for him to do, not get injured, protect himself, and get the money he deserves.
Yeah, I feel like if you're surprised by this, you don't follow football very well because this is kind of what you do. And I'm not saying he's doing that because he's unhappy, because I don't think that's the case. It's just you got to protect yourself as that player because you're the investment at this point. And I think the Bucs understand that. And I think the Bucs were not surprised that he wasn't there. Could it be the agent, being tactical, maybe to a little bit of an extent? But why need him out there? You really don't, right? I don't think we need him out there in May. Keep him healthy. Remember, he was there when Jensen got hurt for no reason. So he understands how this works, and he's going to get the deal he wants. This is part of the game, and it's much ado about nothing, honestly.
I think you know this. I think Jason Light knows this. I think most Bucs fans know this. Tristan Wirfs is the best offensive tackle we've had in Buccaneers history. I think there's no doubt about it. I think when it comes down to negotiating with him right now, it's written on the wall. Penei Sewell got a 4-year, $112 million extension. That's the biggest offensive tackle deal in history. $43 million guaranteed. He's $8.1 million against the cap this year in 2024. $9.5 million against the cap in 2025. Greenberg will get creative with it. I think the writing's on the wall. I think it's not when, but it's going to happen soon. There's not too much negotiating that has to happen. He will get paid more than Sewell and be the new poster boy for the offensive tackles.
Yeah, I think how this all works with quarterbacks, all these different position groups, is usually that agent for, any number of guys is waiting for one of those, shoes to drop. And one of those shoes was the Lions giving their guy his contract. And if you go look at what Antoine got, he got, I think, $250,000 more than the other guy below him as a DB. So it's literally just semantics as to what he's getting paid per year at this point, what the actual number is to make it all make sense. And remember, keep in mind, it helps the Bucs this year to get him under a new contract so that they can have a little bit more cap relief. So there's no scenario in which they would not want to do this and have him go out there, and there's no scenario they're going to have this hang over his head. It's not like, we don't know what we got here. This isn't a Jameis scenario. We know exactly who he is. The league knows who he is. He's not leaving. And Jason said that on multiple shows and platforms. He's not going anywhere. So at this point, it's just like you said, it's not if, it's when. And I think they're just working out the little details that make that contract click. And I think at the end of the day, the Bucs are going to be able to open up even more cap space by doing this. They'll give him the number that makes him happy. He will be the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL. I mean, maybe for a couple months until the next guy signs, but you do your job as the GM and as Greenberg's job does. So I'm not worried about it, honestly. It's been in the works. It just takes time. And the one thing that pisses me off, JC, is when people say it should have never gotten to this point. It should have already been done by now. It's like, that's not how it works, man. Agents drag it along because they have to wait to see what other guys are going to get because they want their guy to be highest because that's their, ego there. So it's, again, much ado about nothing, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if you follow like the Buccaneers media that they post, the guy's basically living at One Buck Place. I mean, he's working out, he's yelling that there's no cookies in the cafeteria. Yeah. He's right at home. And I thought it was cool when he met Graham Barton, and it was a little awkward at first, and then they just made a joke about Fat Arm Friday, and it was everyone's best friends. So I think we're gonna have the best offensive line in a long time since Marpet was here. Since Jensen was playing, we have huge potential on the offensive line. That's Jason's bread and butter. And I said, months ago, I said, just wait till you see what he does with this offensive line. I'm looking forward to this season. That's basically what I have on Wirfs. I know we're going to jump ahead and do the schedule prediction for my picks. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
No, I was just going to say, in 2 years, this entire offensive line will be Buccaneers draft picks across the board, which is going to be dope as hell to see. So I don't think that's ever happened. So, yeah, man, let's dive into this schedule. We didn't really get to talk about it, you and I, and we'll kind of just start at the top. We'll just do a little win-loss prediction from the two of us.
Yeah, let's do it. So that we have Commanders at home first week 1. I have I think that's going to be a W. It will be a W for the Buccaneers. Jaden Daniels comes in as the quarterback for Washington as a rookie. I think Todd Bowles blitzes the hell out of him. He's a little skinny too. I think we put him on the ground, rattle him a little bit.
Yeah, it's a rookie. It's hard to be a rookie in the NFL. It's even harder to be a rookie in the NFL in your first game, and it's even harder than that to be a rookie in the NFL in your first game against Todd Bowles' defense, and Todd Bowles having months and months to prepare his team for you and have a game plan in place, and they're going to pin their ears back, I think, and get after him. I don't think they have a running game per se that could scare the Bucs. As long as the Bucs do what they're supposed to do, I agree with you. This should be a win. It's at home. It's about time we get a home opener that's during the daytime and get a win off of it. I'm excited for that.
Week 2, we are at the Lions. So I try to be as unbiased as possible with this prediction. I think we take an L week 2 against the Lions. I think the team's going to still be getting used to Liam Cohen and kind of still finding their groove. I think if this was later in the season, it could be a different story. But I think we do take the L week 2 against the Lions.
I would typically agree with you, man, but having talked to Rashad multiple times about this matchup and getting a chance to kind of get revenge, this is a game that these guys have circled, and this is a game that they feel they should have won in January. And so I feel like earlier in the season is a good time to kind of punch a team in the mouth, especially if the Lions win week 1. They're going to kind of be riding a little bit high. They're going to think, oh, we're going to beat the Bucs again. The Bucs have a chance to kind of avenge that, and I think they pull it off. I really do. I think they pull it off because I don't think they're going to have enough film on what Cohen likes to do, and Cohen will be able to pull some stuff out of his sleeves that he hasn't shown yet because he hasn't obviously only 1 week in at that point. So I think the Bucs pull off an upset in the biggest matchup at the beginning of the season for me here.
Week 3, we have the Broncos at home. I think we beat the brakes off them. Take easy W there against the Broncos for me.
It's another rookie quarterback. I don't see anybody on that team that they would start other than Bo Nix. So you got to throw him in there. I think he'll struggle against that pass rush and what Todd likes to do on the back end. And remember, we got Jordan Whitehead back, so you're gonna have a two-headed monster back there. Tyke Smith's gonna be in there. I think the secondary is gonna cause a lot of problems for these younger quarterbacks as opposed to what we've seen in the past, where younger quarterbacks kind of go off on us. But I think the secondary is ready for this challenge.
Week 4, Eagles at home. Devin White comes back to Tampa. I got a W against the Eagles for the Bucs. I can't wait to see Graham Barton put Devin White on his ass in that game.
That's if Devin plays. I think he's going to be more of a situational guy for them. But I have this as a loss. They're going to be 3-0, I think, in my prediction so far. And remember, the Eagles were embarrassed by us here, and they have pride, and it's one of those games. It's going to be a tough game. I just think they kind of squeak out a win against us and maybe humble the Bucs a little bit. Still some young guys on this team that are going to need to eat some humble pie. But I could see it going both ways, but in my prediction here, I'm going to say they lose this game.
Week 5 at the Falcons in Atlanta against Kirk Cousins and a Raheem Morris. I got a W. I'm just going to say this right now. As non-biased as possible, I think the Bucs clean sweep the NFC South.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think this whole hype train that they've created around the Atlanta Falcons team with Kirk Cousins, like this guy's 36 years old coming off of an Achilles injury. It took a clean, healthy GOAT in Tom Brady up until like week 11, 12 with the Bucs after the bye week to really click. And you're telling me week 1 with Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles injury, a guy who doesn't even like to run in the pocket or move around, doesn't like to be chased, doesn't like to be rushed, is just going to click and they're going to figure it out. Bucs are going to get after them. I think the pass rush will win this game, and they'll just make Kirk Cousins look like Kirk Cousins with a recovering Achilles injury. Honestly, this is definitely a W for me too, man.
Week 6 against the Saints. I mean, we got their number, man. We got their number. We know them. We hate each other. It's always chippy. I think I got another win there that takes us to 5-1.
Yeah, it's a win. They're just not a good team. They don't like each other. The Bucs don't like them. It's been pretty clear from everybody we've talked to, even the guys in the front office. So they're not a good team, in my opinion, to compete with the Bucs. It'll be a good game, but the Bucs will win this game. I agree.
Then we got the Ravens at home. I have us taking a loss to the Ravens in this game, falling to 5-2. I think this could be a really close game. My buddy from California, who's a Ravens fan, is going to fly in for it and sit with my new season tickets that I can't wait for. But I think we do take an L here, and kind of it might be a little bit of an ugly game on both sides of. I just think they might take the L here to the Ravens.
Yeah, I don't I don't know what this team's going to be like physicality wise from the Bucks. I just know the Ravens are very physical, and at this point in the season, will the Bucks understand how to play physical considering the opponents they
Derrick
played?
Henry.
Yeah, the opponents that they played, other than the Lions and the Eagles, they really will be kind of playing softer teams. So I see the Ravens team. I see him beating us. Honestly, if I would have to choose, like we're doing, obviously, I think it's a loss for the Bucks, and it's a closer game, an ugly game, like you said. I think this is going to be a low scoring affair, but they just are going to be able to grind us out, and I think just outplay us. Which again, I'm a big fan of teams eating humble pie sometimes, and this is one of those games where I think you got to lose sometimes to these types of teams to get better and understand what you need to do and what level you need to play at.
Then we got the Falcons at home. I got us taking a W. Another thing I kind of like about our team right now, which I just kind of tweeted about, is we got Rashad White and we got Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's our own little version of Bijan Robinson. I think he's going to play a similar role that Bijan does, catch a lot of passes, make people miss a lot of tackles. I think it just takes our offense to another level.
Yeah, I think they're not going to lose 2 home games in a row. Again, I need the Falcons to prove to me that they're anything other than a hype train at this point. And I agree. We're at home. We're coming off that nasty loss to the Ravens. A little bit of a short turnaround. I don't care. Bucks will win this game, in my opinion, as well. I agree.
So then we go to the Chiefs in Kansas City. I was taking an L there, dropping to 6-3. I think this is a different story if it's a home game. Arrowhead's tough, man. And that's a hell of a football team. I think we can play with them and we can definitely win that game, but I do have them taking a loss here.
So I haven't taken a W, man. Only because I've seen over the last couple of years, this team is very, very culturally connected, especially when they go play on the road. They're a better road team. I think the us against the world mentality, knowing it's just them versus everybody else in a game that everyone's going to just chalk up to the Chiefs. It just feels like that Packers game from last year where they go in, they punch that team in the mouth, they surprise them, they play really, really well. They'd have to play a perfect game or a near perfect game to pull it off, in my opinion. But the Chiefs aren't the same Chiefs team. Like, they lost a big-time corner on their defense. They don't really know who's playing left tackle, right tackle, and they believe their left tackle will be a rookie at this point. So it's not a gimme. It's not the same Chiefs team that wiped us out with Tyreek a couple of times. So I think the Bucs surprise here and they win this game, which I will be at. JC, you and the wife got to join us.
I'm going. Yeah.
All right. So there we go. All right. It's going to be a blast.
Then we got the 49ers at home. I think this is a huge game for just Liam Cohen in general, going against Kyle Shanahan, that you are from that offensive scheme, that offensive tree. I think it's big for Liam. I do have them taking an L and dropping to 6-4. But I think this is like a really fun game to watch, to see the potential of Liam Cohen as a play caller and maybe a future head coach for the Bucs, and see really, how he does against his old predecessor.
Yeah, this one's going to be tough, man, because they are just good on both sides. We have some younger guys on both sides of the ball still. I don't think their offense is going to blow up against us, but their defense, it could probably have a good day against us. And I don't know if Greenlaw is going to be back, but at this point he should be, I think. I don't know. He got injured in the Super Bowl, so I'm with you. If I had to predict, I'd say the Bucs lose this one too. That's a couple home losses in the last 3 games of the schedule so far. So, 3 home games at least. And then we go to the bye
Next
week.
Game we're
week 11.
Yep, bye week. Yep, and then we're at the Giants. I was winning that easily. Going to 7-4 as a record. I think the Giants are just in. I don't know if it's ownership or what. I just don't think it's a well run franchise whatsoever. I think it's disappointing for that market because there's some hardcore Giants fans out there that have just been it almost is compared to when our last tenure, before Light was here. It's not going in the right direction.
Yeah, they're paying the wrong people a lot of money that they shouldn't be paying them. I thought they should have drafted a quarterback, even though I guess they're going to go down with that Daniel Jones ship, and I think he's not going to have a good year. They're not equipped.
It's because the ownership's convinced he's a Manning. He's not.
He's not, yeah. And they don't have a run game now. They don't have a Saquon Barkley there to help him out, really. So, home game, away
Yeah,
game, the Bucs should win this game. They are the better team,
I
especially
I
home
can
game.
definitely see the Giants drafting a quarterback next year. That's all I can say.
Should have done it already.
All right, next game we are at the Panthers and Dave Canales. Hey, Dave,
Dime piece,
that's a
Dave.
W, baby.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think these guys will know. This is a former coach. Can't let him get a win against us. It's in Carolina. I don't expect the stands to be too full. W for the Bucs. I agree. With 2 in a row here now.
Then we got Raiders at home. I think that's another W. I mean, I like the new coach there. I think they're going in the right direction. I just don't think their talent can stack up to ours.
Max Crosby versus Gadecki and Tristan Wirfs. That's
Yeah.
about the only guy I can name on the Raiders team. And I don't know who's playing quarterback. It's probably going to be Minshew. Sorry, Bucs are winning this game, man.
Not scared. Not scared of that.
Bucs
Not
are winning
scared.
this game.
Then we are going to LA and playing the Chargers. I have another W against the Chargers. New coach with Harbaugh. Still got Herbert. Harbaugh's going to really try to run the ball a lot. Herbert's not going to be throwing as much as he usually does. I still think there's a lot of missing pieces on that Chargers team. I think that's another W, and we go to 10-4.
Yeah, that's a team that's still kind of rebuilding and, recouping whatever they can become. There'll be a physical team. No matter what, they're going to be a physical team. They're going to run the ball. I think that bodes well for the Bucs, who are going to make sure they stop the run. They've got all the pieces to do that. They've re-emphasized that point of attack on the defensive side, and I think the Bucs should win this game.
Then we go to Dallas against the Cowboys, against one of the worst run organizations in the league right now. Jerry Jones needs to step down. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, is he really your lead back right now? What a joke. I mean, I know they have Deuce Vaughn, I believe, but that's a W. I mean, I think at some point you got to just rip the Band-Aid off and let Dak go somewhere else and start over at quarterback. But hey, I'm not your GM, but you can call me if you want me to be.
Listen, at week 16, I think the Cowboys in this point in their season, they're reeling. Dak's not happy. The team is just, they have some good pieces on defense. I think they got younger on offensive line. The Bucs should win this game. Dallas or at home, it does not matter. The Bucs should win this game. As long as they continue to be focused and do what they've done over the last couple of years, I think they come away with the W here.
Then Dave Canales makes his return to Raymond James Stadium and gets his ass spanked.
Again.
Another W for the Bucs.
Yeah, dude, we're on a roll right now. We've won 1, 2, 3, 4,
now we're
games.
Now we're 12-4. This is why this was interesting for me going through this schedule, because I was really trying to be non-biased, but I just think we're a really freaking good team, man.
Yeah, I think we're both at 12-4. We just have 2 different losses selected off at this point. This is a win for the Bucs, in my opinion. Listen, it's December 29th. It's week 17. You basically can seal up the division, in my opinion, at this point. Just like last year when they went Saints-Panthers. This is it. They're going to go Panthers-Saints. Seal it up. And then, week 18 is coming around the corner. You don't even have to play your guys, maybe playing for a half. And so this is a W. I think that they'll be taking things seriously.
So then now season finale, this is a little tricky against the Saints because I said it was going to be a clean sweep, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're resting starters here. Yeah. I'm going to give the W to the Bucs against the Saints for the finale and finish at 13-4. But if we're resting starters, it could be a reality that we're 12-5 with a great seed in the playoffs.
I agree. And if Baker plays the way we're thinking Baker's going to play and Liam Cohen's going to do what Liam Cohen's supposed to be doing, and they run the ball and they take that infusion of young talent they added this offseason, I think we're able to pull this off like we talked about, man. Just this one's a yes and a no at the same time. I agree with you. If we're not playing our starters, I don't think we'll win the game. I don't think it'll matter, and I don't think they'll care about winning it. But if we have to win it, we won't be 12-5, obviously, but I think we do. We could win this game. So
you know what I'm really happy about, Sammer? That Jameis Winston's not on the Saints anymore, so I can just root for him to overtake Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
Jameis back wearing number 5, man. I'll always have a soft spot for Jameis. I think he's just the funniest dude, and I think he was so misunderstood, and I think it's cool now that he's going on all these interviews and kind of like showing how like funny he really is. And I hope he succeeds in Cleveland. I really do.
I think at the midway point, I think he might be the quarterback for that team. And I think if he gets drafted to the current organization with BA as the guy who drafts him, might be a different scenario, man. Might be a different scenario. But
I mean, he had to deal with a lot of stuff to start his career off the field. I think that took a tax on him. But hey, we're moving on to the next section of this show, and we're gonna do some Baker Mayfield 2024 projections for stats. Do you want to go first? You want me to go
No,
first?
I'll let you go first, man. 'Cause mine
All
might
right.
be
So Baker
outlandish.
in our last season, 4,044 yards passing, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, best season of his career. Gets to the playoffs, gets a W in the playoffs. My 24 prediction, and I'll explain why. I think it was made clear Liam Cohen said he's going to let Baker air it out because he said Baker's our guy. And if he fails, it doesn't matter because he's still our guy. What that says to me, Baker's going to be chucking the ball. My prediction for Baker in 2024, 4,600 yards, 34 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I think a couple more picks than last year because, like I said, I think he's going to be throwing it around the yard a little bit more. But I think he has his career year, and it's just going to get better.
Yeah, it's actually really close to what I was going to say. I just think Liam Cohen's offense, where they're going to be more efficient in running the ball and not so much volume heavy on that side of things, but also an emphasis on catches, turning those receptions into actual yardage. I think that's going to help Baker. Now he's going to be able to throw into these scenarios and into these sets to where these guys are running with the ball. It's going to help his yardage. And I think he gets in that 45 to 4,600 yard range. I think 33 to 35 touchdowns. I'd say 12 picks, 11 to 12 picks. I'd be okay with that. I'd even be okay with 15, honestly.
I'd be fine with 15 too.
It's a little high, but I think for what you're asking him to do, and if you compare it kind of to what, how he likes to play, they're not going to try to neuter him. They're going to let him be himself, and they're going to let him know that if you make a mistake, it's okay, man. Like, you're still our guy, obviously, and I think he needs to be able to play that way. He needs to be able to play like Geno did a couple years ago for the Seahawks when nobody knew he was going to play like that, because he was able to play free and carefree, and it's just like, hey, I'm going to chuck the ball. And when you chuck the ball and you aren't worried about what's going on behind you, it's a different scenario. You play with a different confidence, looseness, and it's a little bit more fun. And he had fun last year while still kind of containing himself. And I think that was a great project for him, a great experience to be able to know that I can control what I'm doing and kind of reel it in a little bit. So they'll have a happy balance there. So yeah, I think he has another career year, man.
Let's state the facts. He's got Mike Evans. He's got Chris Godwin. He has a new weapon, Jalen McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Cade Otton, and I think him and Cade really build on this chemistry they have together. I think Cade has the best season of his career. We got the new tight end. We'll see if he gets any reps or not. He could be dangerous if Cohen unleashes him in a certain way that is kind of easy. He's a 7th round pick. You don't know what's going to happen with him, but he's a 4-4 guy. So I'm sure they can figure something out. And then you add Bucky Irving out of the backfield in the mix, getting a lot of screen passes. Just dangerous guy. Yeah. We talk about Yak. We talk about missed tackles. We talk about Bucky Irving could have a serious role on this team. And then, of course, Rashad. Rashad catches the ball, and Rashad's a beast. I mean, he has weapons everywhere, and he's got a good offensive line. I really think if someone wants to scoff at 4,600 yards, I could even say 4,800 yards. I think it's going to be that big of a year for Baker.
Yeah, they're going to be able to take Bucky and have him just move from being, in that right carriage and shotgun, go out and be the third guy in a triplet formation and just throw the ball to him and tell Mike and Chris, block for this guy, and he's gone. And you know how easy yardage works? Like that's where I think people are going to see the number that we're given for his yardage in terms of Baker and be like, that's crazy. But there's going to be hidden yardage. It's going to be screen passes, stuff like that, to where guys are getting little rub routes and rolling. J-Mac is an unbelievable route runner, and when he gets the ball in his hands, he's trying to score. And so that with Bucky, obviously Rashad did a lot of good stuff out of the backfield when it wasn't even a designed pass to him. He was like a dump off last minute, get me out of trouble scenario. Imagine now when it's
safety.
Yeah, imagine when he's now an intentional receiver and they're trying to get him in a spot to where he's catching the ball with a mismatch and able to be in open space. Again, same thing with Bucky. So that's where the yardage is going to come from, in my opinion. He's still going to have the Mike Evans plays. He's still going to have Chris Godwin, who's going back to his role in the slot. You got J-Mac, who's going to be able to switch through any one of those spots, understands how to be a third receiver. We didn't even talk about Trey Palmer, who should be better in his second year. Like, weapons are all over this field, and they have an offensive line to give him time to pull it off. And I think Liam is going to show that he's a really special offensive coordinator, honestly. And it's going to be way better than what we saw last year, where it wasn't a lot of rhyme or reason what we did. I think like we talked about earlier on one of our episodes, he understands how to make that recipe taste good as opposed to just having all these ingredients. So I'm excited, man. It's going to be fun to see. It'll be different.
Yeah, I'm getting a little jacked up right now, and we got a lot of time before the season
I
starts.
know.
But we didn't plan this, but I want to ask you a serious question. I mean, Todd Bowles, all the players love him. Um, if and you saw, he made the comment last season. He doesn't know how much time how much time he's got coaching. If Liam Cohen proves himself, do you think Jason and co kind of try to guarantee him as a successor in any type of way? Like, how long, if you're projecting Sammer, how long do we have of Bowles left? And if Cohen just, does better than Canales even, where do you see that going?
Man, it's tough because I know for sure that Todd knows that his son playing college ball is a once in a lifetime opportunity for him to see him play every one of those games. And being a head coach of the NFL team, he's not going to be able to do that. And I think he understands that there's a time frame there to where I want to go and travel to every one of these games. Like I'm friends with Donnie Abraham. And Donnie didn't come on our show last year a lot. People asked why. He traveled to every one of his son's games because he didn't know if his son was going to get drafted into the NFL, didn't know if he was going to even get a tryout, didn't know what was going to happen. He said, I want to at least know that I got to watch him play football for the last time all through and through. And I think that's going to weigh on Todd Bowles. And what does he have left to prove, really? I think if he can show that this team can win under his leadership, and obviously these guys have all signed back because they want to play for Todd. They're not signing back if they hate the head coach, like people want to make believe and pretend, right? So if he gets his team to 12-5, they get to a playoff, they make a playoff run, or even if it stops in the NFC Championship, I think he would be confident and happy in that result. Say, you know what? I think I've accomplished enough to say, that I'm happy with what I leave behind here. And maybe we get him for one more year, but again, that thing with him and his son, that's the factor that makes me believe this might be his last year, whether he's good or not, which I think he will be. And I think at that point, Liam Cohen is that next guy. Rashad White said it to us in Spaces. He said it to us on a show a couple weeks ago. Like, Liam feels like a head coach. And remember, he was a head coach. So, like,
Yep.
he has a lot of those tools. And I think that's why the Bucs hired him. They saw that. They saw there's a leadership there. And if they want a succession plan and want to continue what they're doing with the program, all the good teams continue this succession type of scenario. They don't, fire everybody that's been winning and go on a different direction and keep winning. It's a succession type of scenario that always plays out. The Bucs will be in a good position to do that. And if he proves himself, then man, you got your quarterback, you got your weapons, and you got your head coach as an offensive coordinator. That's the recipe nowadays. You can't lose your offensive coordinator over and over and over again. It doesn't work unless he's got a phenomenal staff underneath him that he doesn't pluck and you can keep one of them. So I'm curious what the Texans are going to do in a couple of years when he's got to go eventually.
Slow's going to get a job.
Yeah, right.
We talked about this months ago on this podcast, but the future of the NFL is having a play caller as your head coach. I mean, that's Todd Bowles is a dying breed in this league. That's just not saying he's not doing a great job and the players love him, but it's a dying breed. You want your play caller to be your head coach so you don't lose your play caller. I mean, it's an offensive oriented league now.
Yep.
It's not defense doesn't win championships anymore. Offense does. So
especially if you draft a quarterback. You can't bring him along with that guy and then have that guy leave. Like, what's CJ Stroud going to look like when the guy who's brought him into the league technically and brought him along, what's he going to look like without him? I believe they already lost their passing game coordinator this past offseason, so those pieces are going to start to dwindle. And so if you have a guy like that, like the Minnesota Vikings do, like the Cincinnati Bengals do, like the Rams do, so many teams have it set up that way.
Green Bay.
Like, that's
Rams, San Francisco.
You're essentially guaranteeing consistency, at least in the one thing that matters the most, which is the quarterback, head coach. That relationship is a big deal. And whether that's Baker or another guy down the road, it's important to have those things in place. And I think
it's going to be big. It's going to be big.
And it's not a knock on Todd, like you said. It's not. It's really. It doesn't. It just. It's that's how the league is moving because everybody's going to find that next hot guy. They want the McDaniels. You gotta set yourself up for that scenario. And I think the Bucs really have done that, man. I would not be surprised if this would be Todd's last year.
Stammer, we have a pretty fun thing we're about to do. We're going to give away a Bucs. What is it? The Vapor Creamsicle customized jersey. Yeah. I think you have it on your end, how it's going to be randomly selected right now.
Yep. We had all the people who retweeted got put into this randomizer here. It's got, I believe, 347 entries. And so we're just going to hit that draw button, and whoever wins. And the winner is Paul Compy.
Paul Compy.
Paul Compy, you are the winner of the customized Creamsicle Vapor Bucs jersey. I mean, you can customize the number, the name. It's a badass one, right? It's that $350 deal with the nice stitching, and yeah, it's fit to your body. So
Poly Comp.
yeah, you're gonna have to reach out to us somehow. I think we have your Twitter, so we'll probably blast it out here in a couple hours, and then congrats, dude.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
There you go.
All right, man.
Cool, man. Well, Sammy, that was a good episode. If you want to follow us, we're on Instagram at Fully Loaded Bucks. We are on all streaming platforms at Fully Loaded, a Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, and we are on the Loose Cannons channel.
YouTube.com/@Loose Cannons Podcast. Anything else? You think? Hey, could Baker go for 5,000? You know how many haters.
Let's see how quick Cohen dials in with his play calling.
I think it's going to be a much shorter ramp than people think or know or are anticipating, because it's a lot of the same stuff. It's just a better play calling strategy, better sequencing. That's going to be the bigger difference. But a lot of the stuff that they talked about in terms of the verbiage and the actual plays themselves are not very different from what we've been hearing out of camp.
The reality is Cohen's been calling plays for a long time. Canales had never called plays until he got to the Bucs as the offensive coordinator. Yep. I think it's gonna be a little easier step to take with Cohen, and I think Cohen's got a very bright future with the Buccaneers and the organization.
The one thing that stood out to me is he said he's going to give our guys more options at the line of scrimmage, in run games.
There you go.
And in the offensive in the passing game. So that tells me immediately that they said, hey, we didn't have many options last year. If it was a run play, we were 99% of the time we were just going to have to run in that loaded box. And I don't know if that was because of Dave or if that was by design. They didn't trust Baker. I doubt that'd be the case. So they wouldn't have signed him. So, yeah, I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see that option that he's going to now allow these guys to pivot and adjust. And you're not going to see those loaded boxes with the 11 personnel he's going to run, man. It's going to be a different ball game. It's going to be fun to watch. And Rashad's going to hit that 1,000 yards and plus. It's going to be dope.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I think right now we have the best running back situation the Buccaneers have had in a long time. I mean, you could say Lenny and Ronald Jones.
I think it's better than that.
It's way better. I don't honestly, I don't remember the last time I was this confident in the backfield.
We had those years with Doug, but it was just Doug. So if Doug went down, it was pretty terrible after that. I would say maybe Michael Pittman and what's his name? Thomas Jones. Thomas Jones and Michael Pittman had a good 1-2 punch. Ernest Grant for a little bit, I guess. This reminds me a lot, man. It reminds me a lot of work done in Mike Allstott, but as if Mike Allstott was way more athletic. And that's not a knock on Mike Allstott, but Rashad's really athletic for a guy his size too.
We got two backs that really can catch the ball out of the backfield, and Cohen can get really creative with this.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun, man.
It's gonna be fun. All right, JC. We'll see you guys next week, and go Bucs.
Go Bucs.